This is Elemental from Tears for Fears. It's the name of the album that they released in 1993, and that was the first song off of the album. The reason why I'm playing that is because we're going to be delving a little bit into 1993 today on a brand new episode of Dylan Knows, episode 295, Sophomore Slump. I'll be talking about why I think my sophomore year of college was my best college year, and why I think 1993 in general was a pretty good year for me, anyway, personally. But that's not all. We'll also be covering, actually not a lot of stuff. It's like a shortened Mother's Day Eve episode, only 2 pages today. Just not a lot of really good, interesting news out there. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some really good news. We've got more Florida people. We've got more animals. We've got some crazy new fashion statements. We've got police officers being kind instead of being assholes. We have new Funko Pops for the history lover that you love. We also have some movie trailers. I think I already said that. We talk about some deaths that happened this week. And Extinction and Evolution popped their head up a couple times here. And SpiderMan is all over the place. Actually, I got 3 stories basically about SpiderMan, 2, and the trailer, of course. And my review of the fantastic family film Detective Pikachu, and maybe some new stuff in Pokemon Go. And what the hell is that? Oh, I know what that is. And a dude pretending to be someone he's not. So we'll start with that one so I don't forget about that one. So as you know, the NFL draft was recently, and I think there's always a story like this out there, out and about this. But basically, the draft is, the 32 football teams, their first round draft is shown on NFL Network and ESPN, stuff like that. And they draft college kids to help their team. And it's a big deal because football is a big deal. And you want to see what new players your team is going to get to help you possibly push you over the edge to winning the Super Bowl and stuff like that. So it's a fun thing to watch. And particularly if you're a big college guy and you know these people and see what they do and see what other teams are doing as well, it's kind of cool. But, the really big high end draft picks, the ones that everyone is saying is going to go first round, a lot of them are on site at the draft itself, so they can actually walk on stage and they can get the cap and the hug from the handshake and the hug from the commissioner and have everybody cheer for them. They can hold up their new uniform, number 1 draft pick, they hold it up, stuff like that. But as I said, I think every year there's a story about this. There was a guy this year who had a Packers hat on, much like the Packers draft pick. And he goes out and he started talking to people saying how he was just drafted by the Packers. And there was a picture of him with a couple of hotties, all climbing all over him. He was like, oh, look, he's going to be a football star and he's going to be rich. Maybe we can score some free money out of them, or they just want to be with a famous person. So it's kind of a way to, be able to shag some women and also feel more self-important. Oh, I forgot to turn the Flamingo on. Flamingo remained dark today. I don't know why. I just forgot to turn him on. I'm not going to get up in the middle of the show and turn him on. So there he is over in the corner, but he's just not on right now. So for the first time in a while, he isn't going to be on this week. So there's always something about that. It's because, to be honest, a lot of people don't know what football players really look like. The names, and you might know what some of them look like. But I swear to God, if you just met somebody on the street, if it's not someone that chances are you could walk right by somebody who could be a player on your NFL team. And that's what's kind of cool about being in Reisterstown, because in Owings Mills, which is right down the road a little bit, the Ravens have their castle, which is called their castle. It's their practice grounds and the place where they do their meetings and their studying and stuff like that. It's literally probably about 10 minutes from my house. And I never knew where it was until earlier this year when we went on a little trip down that way, and I discovered, wait a second, there it is. So there could be Ravens players all over the place, and I just wouldn't know it because I don't recognize a lot of them because you don't see a lot of them in person. I mean, when you watch them in the football games, they've got their helmets on, so you can't really see what's on their faces. I mean, obviously, the Joe Flacco's and the Terrell Suggs and stuff like that. They all look like because they're on TV and stuff like that, and ads and stuff like that. But some random guy that just got drafted, if he has a hat on, a suit and a tie, like they have, you could probably convince anybody. And you look like a football player. You're like, hey, I'm a football player, and I just got drafted, and people are going to believe you because hey, they don't know what you look like really. So that was kind of interesting. Let's see what else. Chris Evans, our Captain America, excuse me, actually surprised his classmates by going to his 20th high school reunion. So, people, he shows up at the 20th high school reunion. They're like, oh, wow, it's famous Chris Evans, who's just he was potentially going to be the biggest movie of all time. And, he's the guy we went to high school with. And, hey, he's just like a normal guy hanging out with us. They were getting pictures taken with him. And he was, back in his high school, just talking to people. He probably still remembered people he went to high school with and might have still been friends with some of them and got to see them. So, like, that was kind of a cool story. There was a mom who worked really, really hard to help send her twin sons to the same college, and they in turn suggested to her, you've always talked about wanting to get your degree. Why don't you come join us? So, all three of them went to the same college. So that's kind of a cool story. And I think she just got her degree along with their son. So she spent 4 years. She did all of her college stuff and did her appropriate stuff and got her degree. And it's very, very cool. So we'll talk a little bit more about college stuff when I talk about why I believe sophomore year was my favorite year in college. No, it's Florida people. Yeah, we'll do some Florida stuff since they're right here early on. Florida mom. Actually, both of the Florida stories are about Florida women. Women are doing crazy stuff just like the men are. A Florida mom was arrested after a teacher found hundreds of bugs in her kid's notebook or in her kid's backpack, at school. Why would you put hundreds and hundreds of bugs in your son's book bag? Are you mad at him, or that was just the most convenient place to put them? I don't know. That was weird. And it didn't say they were alive or dead. I would assume they were probably alive. And why the hell would you do that anyway? I don't know. It's Florida mom. Who knows? Another Florida woman was arrested after police pulled her over in her car, I guess along with her boyfriend is in there as well. And they discovered inside the car, cages filled with wild animals that I think they were trying to sell to somebody, and they captured them illegally. But the big story was this woman had a baby alligator in the legs of her pants. So, she had pants on and she reached down into the inside of her pants and pulled out a baby alligator. A baby alligator was in the pants of a Florida woman. Okay, interesting. Got a lot of animal stories today, which is good. Here we go. Natural Light, which is a really kind of a weak ass beer, watery type of thing. They call it Natty Light, which is funny, making fun of Natty Boh, which is National Bohemian, which is Baltimore's beer. But Natty Light or Natural Light is hiring summer interns to drink their beer this summer, and it pays $40 an hour, which I guess is going to help offset their medical bills after they drink tons and tons of that crappy, shitty, cheap ass Natural Light beer. I'm drinking natural, cheap ass water from my Papa Smurf cup. Didn't get out to the grocery store this weekend, or rather yesterday. I think I talked a little bit about this last Thursday. My wife's car, a tire blew while she was driving back from work. And when we dropped the car off at the garage, to get it fixed. And I'm kind of glad we took it there, and instead of going to Mr. Tire, because Mr. Tire would just fix the tires and boom, we would have been on our way. They would have discovered that the brakes were getting ready to go. So they fixed the brakes, which is unfortunately another big expense for us. And we're probably not going to be able to send our kids to summer camp this year because we have all of our cushion went to my transmission redone, the 4 new tires for her car, and new brakes. So we could only afford the front brakes and the 4 tires. So Dawn got that done over the weekend, or rather on Friday of last weekend, and got the car back. And then drove it all week to work. And then yesterday, she dropped it off at the garage again to get the back brakes done, and took an Uber to work, and I had to pick her up. So I was hoping that I would be able to, before all this happened, I was hoping that I would be able to leave work, since I've been doing this project. I've been getting off at 3:30, go and do some Mother's Day shopping for Dawn, because that's what I wanted to do, to get her some Mother's Day stuff. And then maybe do some grocery shopping, get some of the groceries we need for the weekend. However, she needed me to pick her up. So it's not too bad. I get to drive and pick up my wife. Now, the problem was it was raining like crazy yesterday when I was leaving, and the highway was slow as hell, and I had to go past where I usually go. Usually I go from 695 to 795, and then 795 takes me home. I had to go past 795, go all the way around 695 till I got to 83, which is another highway about another 20 minutes away from here. And so I had to get on that, and it was, as I said, raining and going slow as molasses. It was Friday afternoon. Traffic was at a slow as all get out. So it took me an hour to get her. Now, she said, is it okay if we go to Breakout, which is our, what do you call those? The locked room games where you get locked in a room and have to figure out a clue in an hour, or you die or something like that. Not literally, but figuratively. And you have to use, there's clues, and you have to use your mind, stuff like that. Excuse me. Because I guess they're, the daughters are getting their mom a breakout session, and she wanted to get a T-shirt to give to her to sort of say, hey, this is what you're doing. So we went to Breakout to go get a T-shirt. Sounds like an easy job. It's about another 10 minutes down the road from where Dawn was working. And no, so I figured, okay, we may as well get there, and then we'll be able to head back home. And so we got down there, and they had a electrical problem, I should say, and their power had gone out, but now it was back on. But their computer system, which was all screwed up, and that's how you run the games and the signing in and stuff like that. And there was a party before us who was waiting patiently to go in to do their game. So we stood there for like 15 minutes before even anyone came out. And then we had to wait an additional like 10 minutes as they got the other people's, because they were ahead of us, and they were there for an actual event. So they got them fixed. And then we wanted to just buy this T-shirt. And so we've been sitting there for 25 minutes, just waiting on them. So now that makes it like around 5 o'clock. And actually, it was worse. It was longer than that, because I think I might have gotten there at 4:30, but Dawn didn't come till like 4:45 because she had to do some last minute stuff with her work. So it was like 5:15 we got there. So it was like 5:45 by the time we got out of there. And then they said that they couldn't use our credit card. That's how we're going to pay for it, because their machines were down. So I had to go across the street to a bank and get the money, and it took me a while to cross the street because it's a busy road. York Road is a busy road, and I had to cross the road. I got the money, and as I was coming back, she texted me, he gave it to us for free. So I was like, wonderful. So then I got in the car, and then we drove back home, again, traffic and stuff like that, and then we decided to get pizza because we get pizzas on Friday. So if we would just get that, and then we eventually got home 6:30. So 3 hours after I left work, I finally made it back home. So I didn't get a chance to go to the grocery store, and I didn't get a chance to get Dawn's Mother's Day stuff yesterday. So that's why I'm drinking water and not my usual iced tea. This morning, though, I was able to go out and get Dawn her Mother's Day stuff. because we had to get my mom something for her, because we were already planning on taking her out to lunch today, because today was also the Bloomin' Arts Fest here in Reisterstown, which is every year it's like the Saturday before Mother's Day, and it's an event where artists come and they bring their jewelry and paintings and stuff that they do. We also have musicians and other stuff as well, and so it's a fun time, a good event. Food trucks. The Cow has a truck there, even though the Cow's like right next door to where we're having this event. But if you don't want to go to the actual Cow itself, you could just go and get some stuff at the event. So we did that today. I went to the Harriman House, which is an old school type of restaurant that was in an old house that's been around since the 1800s. So that was kind of cool. Good food. And then after that, Dawn wanted to go see Detective Pikachu. I mean, I wanted to see it also. But for Mother's Day, she wanted to go see Detective Pikachu. So we saw that. I'll get the review of that in a little bit. Just tell you it's outstanding and it's fantastic. And so here we are. So that's why I'm drinking water. So yay for that. Netflix has struck a deal with Dark Horse Comics to produce content. They did the Umbrella Academy, which is a Dark Horse comic, which was fairly successful. So now they're going to be doing a bunch of Dark Horse shows now, which is fine. They got some interesting takes on things, so we'll see how that is. 6-year-old calls 911 asking for a friend. Police officer comes over and plays with them. So I thought that was kind of cool. I mean, the police officer wasn't being taken away from a more important job, and it was a 6-year-old kid who was just lonely and sad, and police officer came over and played with them. I thought that's kind of cool. Captain Marvel will be out on Blu-ray on June 11th. I think it'll be on digital end of May, and then Blu-ray on June 11th. So we'll be able to add that to your collection of MCU movies. No word, obviously, when Endgame's going to be out, but obviously, let's take a look at it. March is when Captain Marvel came out in movie theaters, March to April, April to May, May to June. It's about a 3-month window before it goes to Blu-ray. So you figure, Avengers Endgame came out in April. So you're looking at April to May, May to June, June to July. So sometime in July, possibly, unless they decide to push it off further down the road. But sometime in July, Endgame should show up on Blu-ray as well. But right now, Captain Marvel will be there on June 11th and on digital, like at the end of May. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. This is kind of a cool idea. Some guy modified a Roomba, which is one of those robots that goes around and vacuums your floor for you, and you don't have to do any vacuuming for it. And he modified the Roomba that when it hit something like a wall or corner or table or chair or something, it cursed. So that guy has a future, but it's kind of funny to see a Roomba driving around and just vacuuming the floor, and all of a sudden it hits something and goes, damn it, or shit, I don't want to say it, just say it 'cause it's not quite 10 o'clock, which is when I'm going to be able to drop more of the F-bombs and the S-bombs, stuff like that. So I thought that was kind of funny. And it's a neat idea, and it's just really, really funny. Earlier this week, all across social media, Marvel Comics was posting all these creative teams, writers and artists working together, doing something. So it was a big secret. So when you first saw it, it's like all of a sudden it's like Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale and Kurt Busiek and Alex Ross and Peter David and Adam Kubert and stuff like that. So it was just they had J. Michael Straczynski and John Cassaday and stuff like that. So they had a bunch of big writers and big artists just working together. That some have worked together before, some have never worked together before. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who's written a comic about Sherlock Holmes's brother Mycroft for like Aerosol or something like that, is on this list as well. So people are like, oh, okay, this must be like they're probably let's see, June, July, August. Everyone's thinking, oh, August, they're probably going to be doing like a all wide-ranging new creative team start over type thing, because Marvel always tends to do that. And these are the creative teams, not telling us who they are going to be working on. So it's like, oh, these are great teams, we keep seeing all these names working together. It's like, oh, that's really, really cool. Patrick Gleason's another one. All this stuff. It's like, oh, I can't wait to see. And people start speculating, well, maybe these two are going to be working on this, and maybe these two are going to be working on that, stuff like that. So nobody knew what was going on because previews won't actually be out until beginning of June. Then we would have found out then. Obviously, they usually tend to leak the stuff early. And so obviously, by the end of the week, this story got leaked where these are not creative teams for your new comics, new comic teams for not new teams for the X-Men or Spider-Man or Fantastic Four or anything like that. No, these are creative teams that are going to be doing one page in an 80-page anthology celebrating Marvel's 80th year, I guess. They're going to call it Marvel Comics 1000, and it's going to be an 80-page comic with 80 creative teams, which these were all these names popping up, doing one page, going through the history of Marvel from the beginning to present day. So I don't know exactly what that means or how it's all going to tie together, but it also means like Peter David and Adam Kubert are doing a page, and like Patrick Gleason's doing a page, and J. Michael Straczynski is doing a page and not a creative team. So people kind of disappointed in that, but at the same time, it's kind of going to be interesting to see how they tie it all together. So that's kind of a good deal. So, and Gail Simone's in that list as well, and she was tweeting out earlier this week, "Hey guys, I'm working on someone I've always wanted to work with and never worked on before," and we didn't know if that meant for her Domino comic or a brand new comic she's doing, or we could be this Marvel 1000 thing. Speaking of Marvel, their top dog SpiderMan has been in the news this week for 3 reasons. The first one was a man dressed up as Spider-Man was arrested for streaking during a basketball championship game in the Philippines. Before you say, oh, was he completely naked except for a Spider-Man mask? That's what I thought it was. But no, basically it was somebody dressed up in full Spider-Man costume, and in the middle of the national championship basketball game in the Philippines, he ran out onto the floor, and some say that he ran into the star player on one of the teams. And when the guy was arrested, he was saying he was doing it to draw attention to the upcoming elections, which are supposed to be kind of contentious. So we'll see. But I was just, when I saw it, they said Spider-Man streaks during the national championship basketball game, I was like, I must be completely naked except for a Spider-Man mask. I think that'd be kind of a cool way to do things. But, and no, it turned out they were just someone dressed up as a protest in complete Spider-Man garb. Where's that other Spider-Man story? Oh, there it is. Teen dressed up like Spider-Man lures and then beats up a pedophile. So kid discovers that this guy is a pedophile, and he decides that pedophiles aren't any good, which they aren't. They sexually assault young children. So he decided to take the law into his own hands. So he dressed up as Spider-Man and then beat the crap out of a pedophile. Now, I don't know if you want to clap it and encourage it because, hey, pedophiles are bad and they're evil. And what he did was, defending, children and stuff like that, and stuff like, and not being attacked and attacking pedophilia. At the same time, you're still assaulting a guy, and you're not law enforcement, which is the biggest thing about comic books, is that they're vigilantes. And that's the big thing. They're above the law. And these people think they're above the law, much like our government in Washington now. But we're not going to get into that again. I know I say it all the time, but I'm just so sick of what's going on in there. So I don't know which side I should take. I mean, it's good that he beat up a pedophile, someone who deserved it. But at the same time, you can't take law into your own hands, because then things become lawless. And that doesn't work. And finally, the last Spider-Man thing, and this will segue nicely into a Spider-Man or into a trailer discussion, is Spider-Man's new trailer came out this week. I think it was like Tuesday. Thought I had it written down here somewhere. Yeah, there it is. And it was good because they decided they wanted to wait to release this trailer specifically until after Endgame, the spoiler embargo was over, because the trailer is filled with spoilers for Endgame. So we get a better feeling of what is going on in this new Spider-Man movie. Uh, it starts off with Peter being sad about the death of Tony Stark, and he mentions that, and Happy's there talking to him like that. So right off the bat, they announce that, hey, Tony Stark dies in Endgame, and then he's all over the place, and Peter's showing true emotion that he lost his father figure and he's upset. And then it jumps into a sequence where he quips as Spider-Man, beating up some bad guys and showing it's going to be, not going to be all depressing, sad story. It's going to be a Spider-Man movie, and cracks a joke at the police officers that he's going to be on vacation. And so it leads into them taking their trip. And we, see some more of Nick Fury. We see some more of Peter interacting with his classmates. And so obviously most of them were died in the 5-year snap, and we'll find out more about that, I guess, when the movie comes out. But they're all still going in the same high school, and they're going on this trip overseas and stuff like that. And then Spider-Man, meets Mysterio, who they're playing up to be a good guy, but if you're a true comic book fan, he's a bad guy, and he's someone who does special effects and does all kinds of stuff to freak you out. And then they mentioned the multiverse, which is something that was brought up due to the time travel scenarios in Endgame. So that makes a mention in this as well. Mysterio is apparently from one of these multiverses and needs Spider-Man's help to save his timeline or something like that. And Nick Fury wants him to do that. And he also calls out Captain Marvel and Thor and all that, and they're out in space and not available and stuff like that. So it's all about Spider-Man stepping up to be the next level hero that the world needs now that Tony Stark has passed away and Captain America is gone. So that's what the general gist of it is. So you get a little idea of what's going on, and looks interesting. So we'll see what happens. It was still entertaining. It's fun. I'm going to see it anyway. My kids want to see it because it's the last MCU movie you're going to see until May of next year, which is ostensibly going to be the Black Widow prequel movie. So we'll see about that. But here's the funny thing, though. Endgame doesn't have a post-credit sequence. Guess what? Now it does. If you go to see Endgame this weekend, stay all the way to the end of the credits, because they have posted the Spider-Man trailer at the end of it as a post-credit sequence, because it technically is like an epilogue to the Endgame storyline. So they're on that. Another big trailer dropped this week, on Thursday, actually. I did not see the first one because they went a little too horror for me. I enjoyed the TV version of this novel back in the early 90s, 93 maybe. Let's look that up, see if that's another added incentive about why it was good. I've read the book, so TV series, 1990. Okay, now it doesn't. Dang it. Oh well. But yes, it's Part 2 is out now. For those who know the story of It, written by Stephen King, either from reading the book or watching the original 1990s TV movie with Tim Curry, or the first part of the new horror update that came out a couple years ago. The story is basically split in half. And the basic premise is killer clown, Pennywise the clown, awakens every 30 years to feed on children. And then he eats like 5 of them, and that sustains him for the 30 years until he comes back out and kills again. Well, this one year he runs afoul of a group of kids called the Losers Club, about 7 kids who are all losers who can see him and decide that they need to stop him and fight him. And they apparently defeated him when they were kids, but they weren't sure. So they promised each other that if he comes back in 30 years, that they would all join back together and take him down again. And so, as expected, 30 years later, he comes back and the crew comes back. They're all adults now. So now the first film focused on the kids' experiences with it. The second part is going to be dealing with the adults version of the kids dealing with it and his newfound abilities and stuff like that, and how they perceive him now as adults instead of children. So the story itself is a good idea. The trailer pretty much is exactly what you expect from an It movie. If you like the first one, you're going to like this one regardless. It comes out in September this year, so you'll be able to see it. It starts off basically with an entire scene, really. Beverly, played by, oh, God. Oh, the red-haired chick from Interstellar and The Martian. Let me see. Let's just do It. Chapter 2 to give us the cast list. Cast. Jessica Chastain. Yep. Stars Jessica Chastain, Bill Hader, James McAvoy. They're the famous ones off the top of the head. And Bill Skarsgård as It. Pennywise. But yeah, Jessica Chastain's grown-up Beverly character goes to her house where her abusive father, she thought still lived there, but apparently he died and no one ever told her. And now this older lady lives there, and they have a discussion, and the older lady keeps getting freakier and freakier. And we know, if you've read the story, you know that's actually Pennywise in disguise. And they get a bunch of other, sharp cuts of things, again, jump scary stuff, horror stuff. So it's deep horror. If you enjoy the original It, you'll enjoy this one as well. But it's out there. You can take a look at the new trailer for that as well. Then there was a trailer that surprised me. I didn't even know this movie was coming out, which is, I haven't been a big follower of the movie scene in a while, but this still sort of slipped through. And apparently Renee Zellweger is making a comeback in film, and her comeback could potentially be an Oscar bait movie because it is a biopic of a famous actress singer from our past, Judy Garland. So we get to see Judy Garland, through her ups and downs, when she was a kid, through her drug abuse and I guess she had some mental issues as well. We get to see all that in Renee Zellweger doing her best Oscar view. They have really good makeup that makes her look a lot like young Judy Garland. So perhaps they hit it on the head, and perhaps it's going to be really, really good. Oh, might be worth checking out. Again, probably coming out later this year. But the funny thing is, real quick, I want to mention this. I don't think I mentioned this, but last week the Sonic the Hedgehog trailer dropped, and people were screaming about how terrible Sonic looked in the movie. The live action Sonic looked like a humanoid Sonic, and it looked terrible, and people were screaming and complaining. But since it's a computer generated character, the director heard their screams and said, okay, I'll fix it. So he's gone back to the drawing board and is redoing all of the Sonic characters. Now, apparently he fixed it because before Detective Pikachu, they showed the Sonic the Hedgehog trailer, and Sonic now looks like Sonic. So they might have actually just saved this movie. So we will see what happens. Jim Carrey is coming back and is being appropriately hammy and cheesy as he's supposed to be. But they fixed Sonic, so he looks like Sonic from the video game. So good on you guys for doing that. What are we going to talk about? That's a big story. I'll talk about. Let's clear some of this other stuff out here first. A lot of animal stuff here. All right, here we go. Are sub-Neptune worlds actually water worlds and not gas giants? Now, apparently, a bunch of the exoplanets that have been discovered recently, they have them classified as Earth types and sub-Neptunes and some other stuff. The sub-Neptune ones they discovered are wider, and they all apparently believe that they were all gas giants, similar to the ones we have in our solar system. But now new studies have shown that it's possible that these sub-Neptune worlds that they believe might be gas might actually be entire water worlds. Now, I didn't read where bases they get that from, but that's still an intriguing story. So good on that. Let's see. Another study came up. Heavy coffee drinkers live longer than non-coffee drinkers. So all my coffee-loving, coffee-swilling friends out there, keep drinking your coffee and lots of it, and you'll live a long, fruitful life, hopefully. That's what studies say anyway. Earth's crust may be splitting in two off the coast of Portugal. Apparently there have been some weird signs that something is going on with our Earth's crust. And it happens to be off the coast of Portugal there in South America. And it's visible that something is not right. So I don't know how that's going to affect us in the future, if it's going to affect us in any way. But there you go. Denver, who already has legalized marijuana, has now voted to decriminalize mushrooms, psychedelic mushrooms. I was offered psychedelic mushrooms in my senior year, something like that. Contemplated it, but in the end said, nah, I'm not going to do it. And friends of mine did, and they told some interesting tales. So you can now go out to Denver and get high off of mushrooms, the psychedelic ones. Soft robots are the next big thing that NASA is developing to make it easier for them to explore other planets. I guess the robot itself is going to be a softer sort of metal or whatever, something that'll be able to withstand more and not be fragile pieces of equipment, and actually be useful for discovering more things about the planets. Britain's first couple. Well, not first couple, but one of the royal couples had Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, I guess, had their first baby this week as well. So happy birthday to them. Mel Gibson to be playing Santa in a dark action comedy film called Fat Man. I've lost all love for Mel Gibson after his tirades. And now he's going to be playing like a action star Santa. And I don't know how exciting I am for that. So maybe it's going to be like a Netflix only type film, but it's going to be made out there though. History Pops, Funko Pops are great. I haven't collected many in a while because we need to cut back on it, and just haven't really been buying them. But now I have a new set I need to buy, these History Pops, which include pop versions of Benjamin Franklin, Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, the woman from that We Can Do It poster, with her arm up like this and the little thing in her hair and stuff like that. She's got her own one. And then the big set is the Crossing the Delaware set with George Washington and two other soldiers in the boat that they crossed the Delaware in. So most of them are going to be available at Target, which is interesting that most of these are at Target and not other places as well. So it's kind of interesting. Alvin Sargent died this week. He was a scriptwriter for Ordinary People, the original SpiderMan trilogy, A Star is Born, the original version. A few of those. He's won, I guess, Oscars, and he's fairly well known in Hollywood. He passed away this week. Pua Megazum, who was the Red Ranger in the Power Rangers Ninja Storm, was found dead at the age of 38 this week as well. It's always terrible when somebody dies young. And Jim Fowler, the host of Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom, also passed away this week. Jim Fowler and Alvin Sargent were older. I think Sargent was in his 90s, Fowler was in his 80s, and then Pua was only 38, which is younger than me, which is scary when somebody younger than me passes away. So animal stuff. Well, actually, no. First up, we have nostril hair extensions are the next big thing. Now, I hate seeing my nostril hair out here, and I'm getting a lot more now that I'm getting older. You can see it. It looks really disgusting hanging down. There are now people who are getting it braided and extended so that you see the hair more, and it's all around their nose and stuff like that. It's a new fashion statement. I was like, what's the matter with you people? Y'all crazy. We'll do some animal stuff, and then I'll do my first big story about my sophomore year. Then we'll do page 2, cover some stuff here. My big story about that will be my Pokemon Detective Pokemon Pikachu review, and then we'll get out of here. So looks like we might be able to get this cranked out about an hour and a half. Because we're almost hitting an hour. About 20 minutes for an hour. Jeez, I'm so tired. Now here's the issue. I need to get Dawn's presents spread out on the kitchen room table, but she still hasn't come downstairs from my daughter's room yet, and she's still got to make appetizers for tomorrow's Mother's Day event at her folks' place. So I don't know if I'll be able to do that. So we'll see. But here's some animal stories. A lot of animal stories, actually, because I like animal stories. First up, you get a dog, and you have some expectations for your dog. You expect the dog to bark at strangers or people who are threatening to rob the house or whatever, and attacking people, who are trying to rob the house. Well, this one dog who his family bought to warn them of any strange animals or whatever coming into their yard. Well, apparently, and again, more proof that something's going on with the animals because they're starting to act more and more like humans. A bear had been spotted around their neighborhood, and the dog had been completely quiet about things. Now, the people know that there's a bear because they wake up in the morning and their trash can has been trashed. Because that's what bears do. They go through trash cans and look for any leftover food and move on to the next one. So they were hoping that the dog would alert them that a bear was in the area so they could scare it away. He hasn't done it, and every morning they come out, the trash can's still messed up. So they don't know what's going on with the dog. So they discovered, and it's such a great story, discovered that the bear and the dog are working together. The bear is actually bribing the dog with deer bones. So I guess the bear eats the deer and keeps the bones and brings them with him, drops the bones off for the dog. The dog goes after it, licks the bones, eats the meat, blood, whatever it's on the bones, chews on the bones, whatever. And while he's doing that, the bear attacks the garbage can. Or the bear is finding these bones just scattered around because, sometimes deers just drop dead, and then all the carrion and stuff and all the other animals go and they tear all the flesh off and just leaves the bones. So either way, a bear is bribing a dog with deer bones so it can take out the trash can. I just find that freaking great. Another thing I found great was someone released a bunch of videos and sort of edited them together into one video, the same monkey attacking people. Except the thing is, he's not attacking them by biting them and pulling their hair and stuff like that. No, he's just kicking the shit out of them and then moving on. And the video is really funny. The first one is a guy on a motorcycle, and he's, driving down the road, and he stops to pull off the side for whatever reason. All of a sudden, this monkey appears out of the screen, comes running, and jumps on the guy, knocks him off with the motorcycle, and then he runs away. So it's like, okay, that's interesting. So then you go to another shot where there's a person just walking down like the road in this area with like a market or something like that. And this monkey is running. The guy doesn't see it. He's got his back turned. He's walking down the road. This monkey, the same monkey, because it looks exactly the same, comes running up behind him and then leaps and knocks him with his feet down to the ground and then runs away. Then there was another time where another video of this boy who sees the monkey, starts taunting them, gives him the finger. The monkey jumps and kicks him in the face and knocks him over and then runs away. And finally, there's somebody just walking towards the camera, and you see the monkey coming behind them, but he leaps and is literally in midair for a little while and smacks this person and then runs off again. It's a hilarious video, and I feel bad for the people who got hit by the monkey, but there's just some monkey tearing around some foreign country, just beating up people, jumping on them, knocking them down, and then running away. He's not biting them, not trying to eat them or anything like that. He's just knocking them over and then running away. And I find that funny. I don't know why. I think it is too. There's some pictures. time lapse, taking a bunch of pictures. Somebody was found an eagle flying through the air, and above the eagle was a crow. I was like, okay, cool. I got two birds with one shot. It's awesome. I got a close-up shot of the eagle, and the crow is a crow. So he's looking through his pictures. He's got a bunch of pictures of them together. Then all of a sudden, he's like, what is that? The crow, there in one of the pictures, the crow had actually landed on the back of the eagle, and the eagle was flying the crow. Crow's sitting on him, and the eagle's still flying, so he's giving him a ride like an airplane. I just find that kind of really interesting. So crow rides the back of an eagle in some pictures. A rooster showed up at a auto parts store, an auto shop in the small town at the door, and he's never left. And now he believes he's a part of the auto shop. So he has become the pet rooster of the auto shop. So I think that's kind of a funny story as well. Finally, the first story we have about evolution and extinction. Oh, it is a bird. Oh, well, I should have told Dawn. Dawn, you're right. Bird that went extinct 136,000 years ago comes back from the dead after evolving again. It's called iterative evolution, and it finds an ancestor of the said animal, evolves back into that animal. So basically, animal goes extinct, but there's still descendants or whatever of the animal, and they're different, but they are offshoots of the same animal. And they've evolved to be a little bit different than this animal. So that animal goes extinct, and these animals live their life doing their whole thing. And then all of a sudden, one point comes where they evolve and they turn back into the bird that was extinct years ago. So basically, it brings the bird back into the population. Iterative evolution, and it was a bird. And I apologize, my wife. I told her it was like a mammal or something, but no, this was a bird. So she knew the story like that. So there's that. So here we go. It's 10:18 p.m. I'm going to get a little personal, as Bill Pullman says, and Casper. Doing this job off-site is a lot of standing around and checking to see that the right stuff was pulled, right shirt, right size shirt, right size pant was pulled, and the right styles and stuff like that. So it's a monotonous job. I've looked through. Let's see, we did, me and my other inspector, Miss Francis, we did 63 on Friday. There's about 10 people in all of those boxes. So we physically look through about 630 people. So it gets really kind of boring after a while. So a lot of times you're just standing around, you get kind of zoning out, and you start thinking about things. And I don't know why, I know a song or a comment or something. Someone said something about college or whatever. I started thinking about it, and I started just asking myself a question. Dylan, in your eyes, what do you think was your best year of college? Was it your freshman year, your sophomore year, your junior year, or your senior year? And I had to think about that a little bit, because there's a good thing that happened in all those years. And I just needed to think about it a little bit. And turns out that I believe sophomore year was my favorite year. Now, the reason why I didn't pick the other was my freshman year in college was interesting because I had a roommate that we tolerated each other. We got along okay, but we were a little bit too different, and he had his girlfriend up every once in a while, and I had to vacate the room so they could have sex. And so I had to find a place to stay and spend the night. And then I just got tired. So like at 5 in the morning, after they were done canoodling, I would just sneak back into bed and go back to sleep from where I was. And I had an 8 o'clock class because I thought, hey, I've been getting up 8 o'clock for forever. This should be easy for me. And college is a completely different environment. And, I had my first taste of alcohol, but at the same time, you also had your first hangover and stuff like that. I also, so that aspects of it weren't great. But then, some good stuff was my sister was a senior at the same college we went to, so I got to see her a little bit more often. And I got to do a play, the first play I ever did in college. I was the lead in that, and I met some cool people, friends from, ran into some people that I knew I didn't know, but were from the area and got to know them a little bit. So that was good. Why freshman year might have been good, but same time there just was the play itself, while fantastic and great, can't really make up for the whole year. Junior year, I didn't really do a lot. Wasn't in a play. I think I might have been a stage manager that year. I'm trying to remember if it was that year, if it was also sophomore year. I think it was junior year. Stage manager, I think. And we owned one side of the dorm, so me and my friends had 1, 2, 3, 4, like control of 4 rooms on the same side, and we had really cool parties and a lot of fun and stuff like that. But again, just nothing quite great. And now senior year was great because for the first half of the year, I had my first girlfriend. I had actual physical intercourse for the first time. And enjoyed being part of a couple. Was in a play, and then she broke up with me in January, and I had radio shows and a column and stuff like that. Then she broke up with me in January, and I couldn't handle it for a few months. And then I got involved in another play where I met another woman, and we had an intimate relationship for a few days. It wasn't it was just sort of a fling. And then I graduated, and it was great to graduate college. So, senior year probably would be second in my take, but start thinking more about sophomore year. Sophomore year was 93, 94. And I had signed up to room with a guy that I knew a little bit of. I was friends with his girlfriend. I liked his girlfriend a lot. Knew him a little bit, but we both need a roommate. I thought, okay, we could probably handle this. So, okay, that'd be great. Found out when I got there to begin the year that he had dropped out or transferred or something like that. So they didn't have time to find me another roommate for the fall semester. So I had a double room all to myself in the fall semester. So that was one good thing. Second good thing was that was also the year I met probably my best friends that were my friends through the remaining years of college. I guess I knew them a little bit from freshman year, but not as much and hanging out with them as much as I did sophomore year, because they lived right above me and we had lots of jokes and pranks and we became good friends. Pat and Eric and Bood, and was Troy involved in that a little bit? I think Troy was in there as well. So we had all that going on. So that was another good. That was my good friends. We started hanging out together at that time. Excuse me. So we had that going together. I was also in a play. I wasn't a lead. It was a play I'd done before. I did Comedy of Errors in high school, and we were doing a modern version of Comedy of Errors for college. So I got to play a minor role in that play, so I got to do that. And then I also helped my the guy who wait a second, that was senior year, never mind, because Bill was a senior that year. That was freshman year, never mind. Was it? Was Bill? Because I don't remember Bill being in any of the plays. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So we did Comedy of Errors. We did that. So that was a lot of fun. And then when they did find a roommate for me in the spring semester, he was a good guy. We got along really well. He also spent a lot of time in other places, so I didn't really see him all that much. And I know the other big one that I don't want to talk about. I just want to see if I forget anything else. It was the first time I lived on campus. And that was good. It was also the first time, my sister was gone. She graduated. So so it was the first time I was fully by myself at a place. I had peanut butter and jelly sandwiches whenever I got my first TV. I bought my TV VCR combo because my freshman year, my roommate had the TV, so I didn't really need one, but I needed to get one. So I had bought a 13-inch DVD, no, not DVD, VCR TV, because this is 93 combo. And so I had a TV, that played movies on VCR movies, and I had my first cable. I guess I had cable freshman year, but it was my own cable. I got to, I had all the channels and stuff like that I wanted, and I could watch whatever I wanted. And as I said, I had the room to myself, which was fantastic. And I had great friends above and stuff like that. And let me see if I get to the big one. Anything else about that sophomore year? The spring semester is still kind of hazy, so I don't really remember. It's all kind of goes together, so there could be some other good stuff. I don't think I did another play that year, or I was the stage manager that year, but I don't know. But so all that together, and then what was really good was, and now we're gonna get a little personal, a little blue, and probably a little too much information for you guys. Now, I had my first intercourse physically where I penetrated my senior year, but my first experience with sexual stuff was actually the sophomore year also. One of the women in the play, actually, she made the first move on me. I was just lying in bed one day, and she knocked on the door just to sort of come in and hang out. And I was like, okay, come on in. It's cool. We're just chit-chatting. And she jumped in bed next to me, and then we're just sitting there watching TV. And all of a sudden she starts, rubbing me, and I start rubbing her, and we begin to rub each other. And then clothes are coming off and things are happening, but she didn't want to have intercourse. So we did everything else. And that went on for the whole semester. Again, I had the place to myself, so we could do it all the time. We had a Christmas dance. That was a lot of fun. And that night was the first night she spent the night. Again, no intercourse, but we did everything else under the sun. And we were able to connect the two beds that I had in there together to make one big bed. And that was a really nice, December weekend. Finals were getting ready to wrap, fall semester getting wrapped up. It was just wonderful. And then that was also the year that, that's outside college, but that was just and then I was a manager type at the cafeteria where I was working at. So I had that going for me as well. So I had a lot of really good stuff happen to me in 93 to 94. No, it wasn't 93, 94. It was 92, 93, you dumbass. Sorry. 92, 93. 93, 94 was junior year. 94, 95 was senior year. So it was 92, 93. I'm sorry. Elemental Still Works, which is the song I played at the beginning. So 91, 92 was freshman year, 92, 93. So it was the fall of 92, and winter and spring of 93 was my sophomore year. So that was all the stuff that was going on at school, and one of the reasons why I believe sophomore year was probably my best year in college. Now, locally, also around that time, also Towson Commons opened up, which was a movie theater, Borders bookstore, and some other stuff in there, some other shops, and in a food court opened up in 93, and it was I spent a ton of time up there after graduation, all the way up to the point where it closed, and it's no longer. My radio station that I worked for was in that building also. So I did that, and that was good. So that opened up. My mom and I saw Toys and Greed, I think, were two movies we saw there at the new Towson Commons, which was great to have that big complex. There's 8 movie theaters at that time was big for us in our area. So that was in there. And the Borders was 4 floors, and it was fantastic. They had a wonderful CD shop at the bottom, and then 3 floors of book stuff. And they had everything under the sun you could find. It was great. 93 was also the year that I started working for Diamond at the warehouse during the summer of 93 into 94. I worked at the warehouse. Diamond Comics used to have a warehouse in Baltimore, and I worked with comics for that summer. And that was also the year that Baltimore got the All-Star game. And I remember driving past the stadium when we had the All-Star game, because I was coming back from work late that night. I drove past the stadium and all the news coverage and stuff like that was going on. That was kind of cool. And I was listening to the Tears for Fears album that was in there. So it still fit the whole thing. And 93 is also the year Jurassic Park. So 93 was a good year. 92 was fun because of the sexual encounters I had, the play I was doing, being in my dorm by myself, meeting my friends for the first time, and just all that stuff together. So sophomore year for me was probably my best year. And I just told you why. So not that you asked, but I figured it's my show. It's 295 episodes in. I can do whatever the hell I want, talk about whatever I want. And so much so that we're going to talk about a Tasmanian or Taiwanese leopard that has been extinct, has been thought to be extinct, was spotted for the first time since 1983 recently. So that goes along with the evolution stuff I was talking about before I went to my sophomore year story. Woman buys a loaf of bread. When she opens it up, discovers it's all end pieces. You know, when you get the loaf of bread, you have the crusty end, front and back. My kids, I guess my son would eat it, but it's not the bread in the middle. It's just sort of keep it fresh and compact, stuff like that. And some people eat it, some people don't. But this woman had a complete bag filled with these ends, and that's just wrong. A couple dies of bubonic plague after eating raw marmot. So they ate raw marmot, which in and of itself is just a terrible phrase. And then to die of bubonic plague from eating said raw marmot. That's why you cook your meat, people. I didn't write this down, but because it's similar, the woman didn't die, but she was trying to eat a raw octopus. And while she was trying to stick it in his mouth, the octopus, I guess, came to life and grabbed the tentacles in her mouth and kept her from trying to eat him. That's just kind of weird. What about, I could have sworn this was a joke thing, but it was from a website that doesn't do joke news or whatever, but pre-cracked eggs, it was just a bag of yolks. It's just the yolk is inside this little container. So it's like, you don't have to worry about cracking eggs anymore. Here is your yolk in this little container right here. And that's just disease waiting to happen as well. I said Taiwanese, but Tanzania in Africa is planning a cable car to go up Mount Kilimanjaro, which I guess it's a mountain, but it's not like Everest size. But they're going to create a cable car that goes from the top of Kilimanjaro down to the ground. And it's still a pretty big mountain, and that just seems kind of weird. But I got a couple good headlines for you. Couple having sex outdoors in goat costumes are accidentally shot by hunters. So I guess they're furries. They dressed up as goats and decided to go outside and have sex like goats outside, and a couple of hunters shot them thinking they were something else. I mean, why would you be hunting goats? I don't know. Maybe you didn't think they were goats, but they were having sex and you shot them. But they were people dressed in goat costumes. That's kind of weird. A man is arrested for training his dog to bite people who Fortnite dance in public. Now, my son loves to Fortnite dance, and I know there's a whole bunch of people who do that as well. I don't find it annoying, but this guy found it so annoying that he trained his dog to attack people who did the Fortnite dance. So, good on that, I guess. Cop arrests an animal for trespassing on a busy highway. You've been seeing probably these... what the hell was that? Something just jumped off me. You've probably been seeing these videos on Facebook of police officers who pull off the side of the road and try to help kittens or puppies or animals that are on the road so they don't get hit, which is really good. But he playfully said he arrested this animal that he found trespassing on a highway. Basically, he saved the animal, and good on that. Poop from the Kentucky Derby winning horse is now selling for about $200 a feces. So if you wanted to have feces from the Kentucky Derby winner, you absolutely can now for $200. Now, to be fair, it's not really going to be worth a lot of money because, first of all, that was a Kentucky Derby that ended pretty, what's the word I'm thinking of? Surprisingly, with the horse that did come in first was disqualified for a move he made during the race that affected other horses that they could have, if he would have made that move, they might have beaten him. So they disqualified that horse. The horse that ended up winning was a 65-1 shot, which is something that you don't really see very often. And then we discover the Preakness is the next leg of the Triple Crown, and that goes next Saturday. And it's here in Baltimore, so it's kind of a big deal for us here. But then we discovered the guy who was disqualified is not going to do the Preakness because I don't want to do it. He's still pissy about what happened with that. And then the one that actually won is not going to be there either because he's sick. So there's going to be no Triple Crown this year, and the number 1 and 2 horses are not even going to race in the Preakness. So. Oh well, horse racing's dying anyway. Algae bioreactors on space stations create more oxygen and food for the astronauts. So it's a way to, I guess, they've discovered a way that they might be able to help sustain people on a long space journey, say to, I don't know, Mars for a manned flight. It might be this algae bioreactor might be the way to go on that one. Farmers attack people who drop trash on their land. Again, this is one of those stories, along with the Spider-Man beating up the pedophile, that you're glad that they're doing something. I mean, this is their property, and somebody keeps dumping trash on it and making their property look bad and maybe even dangerous, depending on what trash gets dumped there. So they decided to wait to see who did it, and then when they did it again, they jumped them and beat the crap out of them. I guess, again, you can see their point and see why it's good for them, but at the same time, you're assaulting somebody and you're hurting somebody. So, again, I don't know how to feel about that. I kind of feel both ways, I suppose. Oh, I don't even know what that says. Oh, I know what that says. Last Halloween, I dressed up as one of those inflatable Tyrannosaurus Rexes, and you've seen them before. There's videos of people who do mow the lawn in these outfits and run after people in malls in these outfits and do the ninja course in these outfits, stuff like that. So I got one of those. That was kind of cool looking, and I won the costume contest. Well, now apparently there's a inflatable Triceratops costume, which I guess you have to wear with 2 people. And there's something I didn't know that was out there now. So keep an eye out for that if you want to get yourself an inflatable dinosaur costume. A T-Rex is a good one for your solo self, but if you want to go with a friend or a loved one or whatever, Triceratops might be the way to go on that one. Speaking of dinosaurs, Jurassic World T-Rex dinosaur pool floats are a new thing. I'm trying to get more pool float stories in all the time. I've done it for a bunch of weeks now, and figured I'd keep the trend going. Unfortunately, I have no shoe stories this week, so that trend is going to end now. You can buy an 8-foot bean bag on Amazon now, an 8-foot bean bag. I'm 6 feet, so I'm thinking it's 8 feet long, so it's longer than me, and it's taller than me. And you can go and you can jump in and just squish down like in the bean bag. So if you want to get a nice big giant bean bag that's going to take up your whole room, but hey, you'll be comfy, go for it. Batwoman has been ordered to series. The movie, the show starring Ruby Red or something like that. I forget what her name is. Got a pilot order, and the CW said, we like it. She appeared in the Crisis on Infinite Earth storyline, and is now going to become part of the CW. Not Crisis. It wasn't Crisis. It was Invasion. No, it was a Crisis. No, Crisis is next year. That was whatever the crossover was for this year. They handled that, and she showed up in that one, and so she'll be in the Crisis story this year coming up on the CW shows. So good on that. 4 orphaned baby squirrels are being raised by a cat. So the cat is treating them like they're kittens, letting them drink her milk and taking care of them and protecting them and stuff like that. So again, nice to see animals working together like that. I'll cover that later. A whale returns a phone that a woman dropped into the sea. So I guess apparently the whale was around, saw this woman drop her phone into the water by accident, thought, may as well get it and be good. It was like a beluga whale or something. Went down, grabbed it, and took it back to the surface and said, I think this is yours, and give it back to the person. So that's a pretty good good story for that, and showing the animals are doing really good like that. Thousands of spiders fall from the sky in Brazil. That must have freaked out a bunch of people who are afraid of spiders. No one really knows why all of a sudden thousands of spiders just went on top of you. But hey, they did. A wild raccoon moves into a German zoo and will not vacate. So he wanted to get to be a part of the zoo and is now a part of the zoo. But he was a free raccoon, didn't want to be a free raccoon anymore, decided he wanted to live in the zoo, went to the zoo and just squatted in some spot and is left and staying there. So I guess they're going to keep them as part of the exhibit. So hopefully maybe they'll feed them and all that stuff. So we'll see what happens. A duckling is being raised by an owl. So once again, squirrels and cats, why not ducks and owls? So it's always good to see animals helping each other and working together to do that. Royal Baby had their baby boy. I did that story already. So why is it here again? Oh, this is what popped off. Sorry. That's what popped. I felt something hit me. And I was like, it's this pen. There we go. So I don't know. I just got to press it harder. So I guess I covered that there. So did I miss? Let's see what I thought was that royal couple story here. Oh, well. Doesn't matter. So there you go. Just want to make sure. Oh, that's what it was. Britain has its first coal-free week in a century. So the first time in 100 years, there was no coal smokes or coal. It was a coal-free week, and it hasn't happened for 100 years. So it's a good sign of things to come. Coal is on its way out because coal is dangerous, and there you go. Women seem to be more attracted to fat men with beer bellies. Well, considering how Thor looks in game, I guess I can see that a little bit. It's intriguing. I don't believe it's true, but yeah, good for those people who do that. A Starbucks coffee cup was discovered in the latest episode of Game of Thrones. It was during a scene where they were talking, and there was, plain as day, a Starbucks cup in the middle of this Middle Earth type of place. And it was a mistake totally by the cast and crew, and it's been erased from all further showings of the film, of the show. But hey, it made lots of memes now. What do we got here? CNN aired for half an hour of pornographic content. Now, I don't know if they just didn't realize they were airing it, or they couldn't stop it, but it was pornographic content on CNN, the foremost authority of news. To me, it was probably a trick from our Russian friends who want to keep that Looney Tune in the White House, as they're testing a bunch of different hacking stuff. And CNN has been his enemy, so they figured they would treat him that way too. Man hops off of a roller coaster to catch his phone, which is absolutely dangerous because the roller coaster is going really, really fast and you're really, really high. And if you jump off, you could really hurt yourself. But dude lost his phone. And he's like, I gotta get my phone. And he gets out of the roller coaster and jumps. Now that's scary in of itself because you're not supposed to be able to do that. That's what the restraints are for on roller coasters and stuff like that. But here we are. It happened. Excuse me. Hmm. Oh, men are getting instant six-pack surgeries done to get beach ready. Now that's funny, going up against the study that said women are going after guys with beer bellies. There are dudes out there that want to get instant six packs, so they go to get an operation, which I guess flattens their chest and gives them the six-pack look, so that they can walk around the beach topless and look like, you know, they have six packs, been working out. So I don't know. Uh, what in the world? Can't even read that. Uh, so I'll skip that one. 6,000 people stand in the rain to see if their stem cells match a 5-year-old boy who's battling cancer. 6,000 people standing in the rain hoping to help save a 5-year-old boy is quite astounding, and I wish that life was more like that, so that, you know, we could work together to solve more problems. Oh, chicken harnesses. You can get chicken harnesses now to take your chickens for walks. So if you want to take your chickens for a walk, you can get them a chicken harness now and walk them in this chicken harness. Last stupid people news, and then we'll go into my Detective Pikachu review real quick, and then we'll end this episode. Australia doesn't exist, and the people who live there are actually paid by NASA. Flat earthers claim. Now, the funny thing about that is, if Australia doesn't exist, so who are those people, or where are those people at who you claim are being paid by NASA? If Australia doesn't exist, where are they at? You're morons. Okay, so that's it for that. So Detective Pikachu came out this. Oh, wait a second. There was one more thing. The Pokemon Go. That's right. Pokemon Go has new lure modules out there now, which will be able to get. You'll be able now to evolve Eevee into Glaceon and Leafeon, and you'll also be able to evolve a couple more Pokemon to their next evolution using these new lure modules. Now, they're not available in-game yet, but it looks like they'll be showing up sooner than later, so hooray for that. Finally, Detective Pikachu. Now, fans of Pokemon will love this film. I'm a huge fan of Pokemon. I'm a huge fan of Pokemon Go, and I love this film. Ryan Reynolds is fantastic as Detective Pikachu, and you just get a really good. It's a very fun, PG-rated, all-ages, family-oriented film. It's funny. You don't need to have really any knowledge of Pokemon to understand it, but it's a lot more fun because of all the cameos and all the different Pokemon that you see. And the story is actually really good. It's not a retelling of a Pokemon story that you can get from the cartoons or the manga or anything like that. It's a brand new story. Good performances by Bill Nighy and Ken Watanabe are the most famous people on there, but the young stars are really, really good. And Ryan Reynolds' voicing of Pikachu is spot on, perfect. And it's a fun film with lots of entertaining cameos from different Pokemon, people and Pokemon living together in harmony, Pokemon working with people. it's always fun to see all that and just see all your favorite Pokemon brought to life. And they did a really, really good job with the effects. And it is leading the way for a possible actual Pokemon live action adaptation, which I think they've already said is in pre-production right now of the first generation of Pokemon. They're going to make a movie about the first generation of Pokemon. But this movie in itself is good, standalone, fun. The detective film starts off as sort of like a film noir type of film, and then takes sort of a weird shift when you discover what the bad guys' actual what their plan is. So, well worth it. The effects are great. It's funny. If you're a huge Pokemon fan, you will love the film. If you just want to see something fun and brainless and cute, and my daughter absolutely loved the Bulbasaur scene and just was so excited to see it, and just action oriented, funny, a little bit of, there was a really good film shot when the main human character Tim is crying and he's in a dark room and there's like neon lights reflecting off him. It's shot from one side, but he's crying on this side, and you can't tell he's crying until you see the shift in the color on his face. So very well directed and a lot of fun. Film noir is a great genre, and it was fun to see that. And I can't explain how great. You just have to go see it for yourself. It is a visual treat, and it is fun and cute and nice. I mean, I don't think there's anything really bad about it at all. So definitely worth it. It's outstanding. Well worth if you want a nice little thing. I might go see it again sometime soon. I might see it again before I see Avengers Endgame again, because I still have lots of issues with Endgame, like I told you last week. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's so just retweeted a Detective Pikachu thing. So definitely worth it. All right, finally, stuff that came out this week, anniversary-wise. The new version of Star Trek with Chris Pine and Zachary Quinto and Zoe Saldana and all them came out 10 years ago this week. Twister came out 23 years ago this week. That started the whole early May being the new beginning of summer. Twister was the first movie to do that. Fifth Element was the second one to do it. That came out 22 years ago. 16 Candles came out in 1984, which is, it's a 5 in there, 35 years ago. So that's pretty cool. And Leroy Jenkins is 14 years old this week as well. So that's everything for this week. And finally, let's do Check I Day for the holidays, because, hey, we know what holiday is tomorrow. Tomorrow is Mother's Day, but we're not going to talk about that right now. We are going to talk about all the other holidays that we've got going on. Here we go. Check I Day. Here we go. That's from the 12th. We're looking for the 11th. The 11th is, there's a lot actually, so here we go. May 11th today is American Indian Day, Birth Mother's Day, Brunch for Lunch Day, which is actually funny because the place we went for lunch with my mom was still serving brunch today. Is Cornelia de Lange Syndrome Awareness Day. I don't know Auntie Cornelia, but oh well. May 11th is Eat What You Want Day, Hostess Cupcake Day, International Migratory Bird Day, Letter Carrier Stamp Out Hunger Food Drive Day, Martin Z. Mollusk Day is today, May 11th. May 11th is also Mother Ocean Day, National Animal Disaster Preparedness Day, National Babysitters Day, National Girls Learning Code Day, National Miniature Golf Day is today, National Train Day is May 11th, didn't know that, National Twilight Zone Day is May 11th also, Stay Up All Night, Let's Do It is today also, Sun Awareness Day, World Belly Dance Day, World Buck Fast Day, World Ego Awareness Day, and World Fair Trade Day is all today. Yesterday, May 10th, was Clean Up Your Room Day, Fantastic Friday, Giving Sharks a Voice, Military Spouse Appreciation Day, National Public Gardens Day, National Shrimp Day. These are all May 10th. National Small Business Day, Provider Appreciation Day, Trust Your Intuition Day, World Lupus Day. May 9th is Hooray for Buttons Day, May 9th is also Lost Sock Memorial Day, Make a Book Day, National Butterscotch Brownie Day. Ooh, that sounds good. May 9th is National Children's Mental Health Awareness Day, National Moscato Day, Tear the Tags Off the Mattress Day. And then tomorrow, the 12th, is obviously Mother's Day, but it is also, almost there, Odometer Day, National Veal Ban Action Day, National Nutty Fudge Day, National Fibromyalgia Awareness Day. May 12th is Mothers at the Wall Day. It's Mother's Day. Limerick Day, International Nurses Day, International Chronic Fatigue Syndrome Awareness Day, and International Awareness Day is also tomorrow. That is it for that. So we are done. This episode of Dylan Knows, just about, as I said, an hour and a half. Short one this week. We'll see what happens next week. Next week, I will be solo all weekend. My wife and kids are going on a camping trip, so I will be here by myself Friday night and Saturday and Saturday night. So I'll probably be upstairs, going live from my kitchen again, and we'll see what news we get this week. I should be done my big project this week, so I'll be going back to work, my regular job this week, hopefully, and we'll see what's going on. It's also my ex-girlfriend's birthday this week coming up. That's neither here nor there, but that's all I'm going to say about that. All right, y'all. Take care of yourselves. Have a happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Enjoy this episode. I'm probably going to post it on Mother's Day. Enjoy it. Go see Detective Pikachu. You will not be disappointed. See ya.